Vicki Townsend, and I'm the founder and the president of Divorce Right. And we provide training for HR professionals and any company's supervisors. And we provide divorce coaching and case management, providing guidance and direction that your divorcing employees so desperately need. Divorce is a huge disruptor, not only to the employee going through it, but to the company that they work for. If you're an HR benefits manager or an HR benefits provider or consultant, please reach out to us and see if adding our suite of solutions is a good fit for your business or for your clients. And as a reminder, we have SHRM credits for SHRM members, and we'll post a link at the end of this broadcast so that you can grab those. And I want to introduce you to Paulette Rigo. She is not only my friend, she is my colleague, and she is an incredible certified divorce coach and mediator, a certified divorce specialist, and is the director of coaching and case management here at Divorce Right. And today we're going to be talking about addiction and its impacts on divorce, how it shows up in the workplace, and give you some resources that you need to support your employee dealing with addiction in their lives. So I wanted to introduce you to my friend Kit Roberts. Kit Roberts is the owner of a renovated life coaching and consulting company. She is a certified professional life and recovery coach. She is a national board certified health and wellness coach, a corporate trainer, an author, a speaker, and a consultant specializing in organizational well-being and positive mind shifts. Sorry about that. She assists organizations in creating a work culture that thrives in all circumstances by implementing best practices in employee engagement, recruitment, well-being, workforce reentry, and retention. She has a broad range of human resources experience in federally qualified health centers, major health systems, and academic centers. As a certified facilitator in addiction awareness, she facilitates conversation around substance use disorders and recovery in the workplace. She is also a certified DISC practitioner, which I love. And as a professional life coach and national board certified health and wellness coach, she works with individuals and groups, helping them to take that holistic approach to building a life that's happy and healthy and whole. She helps her clients identify obstacles and limiting beliefs so that they can experience that big aha. And that those life moments can be life changing. And she understands the importance lifestyle changes can make in a person's well-being. She is driven by her passion for helping others live their best life, both professionally and personally. She believes life is so much more fun with people to share it with. Lots of laughter, a dog, and a never-ending supply of dark chocolate, which is why she is my friend. Welcome, Kit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad, and I'm so sorry that I stumbled through that a little bit there. When we got on our call before we went live, you shared some incredibly overwhelming and valuable statistics around addiction and the intersection with divorce. So as we get started, can you start by sharing those statistics with us?
Sure. So as I was preparing for our conversation, I wanted to make sure I could draw a correlation between divorce and addiction. And it didn't take me long to find amazing statistics out there. So a couple of things that I came across was that addiction is the third most cited reason for women seeking a divorce and the eighth most cited one for men. The average age of an American who gets a divorce is 30, and the average age of people who are most likely to be involved with some type of substance use disorder is between 25 and 35. So you can see there's a correlation there. Divorce rates are, of course, significantly higher among people who use alcohol. And substance abuse was cited as the reason for almost 35%, 35% of all divorces. So there is a tremendous correlation between addiction and divorce. And obviously, one important statistic is that about 75% of people who are suffering from a substance use disorder are in the workplace.
What was that percentage?
75% of the people who are suffering from some type of substance use disorder are working in our workplace, whether part-time or full-time. So HR people and our employers are going to have this in their workplace for sure.
And you know, the reason that I wanted to bring this conversation together, hopefully you're starting to see that if we support employees with addiction issues early, we can maybe even impact the damage of a divorce, right? Because that financially damages not only the employee, but the company. As a, you know, the average employee making just $58,000 a year can cost an employer $23,000 a year in lost productivity. $23,000 a year. Let's get these people the help and the support that they need, right? To make an impact on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Paulette, why don't you get us started on this conversation today? Because I think this is very interesting.
Kate, I'm so glad you're here because it's a bit of a chicken or the egg syndrome in the world I am in, with being that person that works with the individuals, right? So the conversation normally starts with the marriage is not healthy. And is it, so naturally it's a little bit of a litmus test, but so is it there's an addiction issue that's causing the divorce? Or is there a divorce that's causing the chicken? Sorry, the chicken, listen to me. That's causing the addiction, right? So it's a double-edged sword sometimes, right? And maybe they're congruent, maybe they have nothing to do with one another, but it does take a little bit of diagnosis, not medically, but just checking out, right? To see where exactly the couple or the individual is and what stresses they're in. And leading to the question of what are those warning signs that you as a professional and me as a divorce professional and a coach and an ADR mediator, and of course HR departments, like we have to notice those little unusual patterns. So what are the common warning signs that HR professionals could identify and address that would make the issue a little less impactful?
Sure. That's a great question. And I think probably one of the biggest ones is going to be attendance. And I'm sure that people who are suffering from divorce are also dealing with attendance issues as well. But typically a person who is has a substance use disorder misses about 32 days per year. 32 days, an average employee misses about 11. So that's a significant amount of lost work time in and of itself. Those days typically are around payday, holidays, and weekends. So Monday, people who are absent on Monday, that that are kind of ongoing, not just an occasional Monday. People who are hard to find in their workplace, who are take a break for a long time and are off campus or off site, or sometimes people are in the bathroom. If they're using while they're there, they're not physically at their desk a lot of times. People who don't want to interact with you after a break or after lunch in case they have partaken in some type of substance that they can smell on them. Accidents are oftentimes correlation between substance use and accidents in the workplace. I think the Department of Labor says about 65% of accidents have some sort of substance use related background to them. So those are just a few of the things that an employer or especially an HR person might want to consider when they have employees. Somebody who has had pretty good work performance and begins to have a decline. Oftentimes it's because of cognitive functions, lack of concentration. And again, I can see these similarities between people who are also struggling with divorce as well. Presenteeism. I mean, those of us who've been through a divorce and had to go to work, I'm sure, we're there, but we're not really there because we're thinking about, I've got to have a lawyer's appointment or whatever we've got to deal with. So I can imagine that there are some definite similarities. And I think, what about the person who is struggling with an addiction who is also going through a divorce?
Right.
That's like a double whammy.
Right? That just absolutely multiplies the factor by, I don't even know. Right? That's huge.
You bring up some great points. I see with people that drive, in a business situation, whether they're a bus driver, a tractor trailer, you know, or even they're just delivery, something where they're driving a lot and they're in accidents. I don't just mean, you know, dropping something and breaking something, but like serious accidents that cost a lot for a company. That can be, there's always a test, right? And naturally, if you're bringing in, now you have DUIs and any criminal type of, you know, encounter with the law, perhaps, right? But it could be something as simple as avoiding a conversation or avoiding an interaction. They're, you know, keeping their head down and kind of always busy and, you know, wearing their hair like this and trying to avoid the red eyes and the hangover or the crash feeling like that. You mentioned they just don't show up on Mondays because they're what the heck happened to me over the weekend, and they kind of keep their act together as best they can when they have to, but then it's the weekend, and when slowly the weekend isn't that occasional, should we say the average of 11 days, it jumps up and triples to 32 on average. Then you're going to start noticing the avoidance, the missing behavior. But naturally, obviously, an accident is going to be a big red flag. And not to say that everyone that has an accident means they're an addict. So we have to be really careful with that. But I see that a lot, and it's a bigger problem than we realize. And it costs the company a ton of money. And then if they quit or they have to fire them, that's a big cost for the company, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about that impact that the work performance has on the company, and what steps an HR professional or anyone in seniority could possibly take to help employees manage addiction issues. Because it's a fine line, right? Of how do they manage that and not overstep boundaries, but yet try to save someone from their own sometimes self-destructing behavior, but then it trickles down into the company. So what can they do to help?
I think more than anything, HR people are not always going to be the ones who are frontline in seeing it.
Right.
So it's important that they train their managers, supervisors, and leaders in addiction awareness. And that's one of the things that I've tried to do is raise awareness about addiction. Try to eliminate the stigma that is so oftentimes associated with a substance use disorder. Make sure that you, as an HR professional, are aware of the resources that are both available through your company. Most companies have an EAP program. If they don't, as an HR, and my background was in HR, so trying to make sure that people are able to get the help they need. And I think that more than anything, if HR professionals can equip themselves with as much knowledge as possible with regards to resources that are available through the company, make sure you know what your benefit plan will pay for. Some companies will not pay for treatment if you are caught using drugs or alcohol, but they will pay for treatment if you self-identify. So if we can, as HR professionals, make sure that we are heralding the message that this is a safe place to talk about hard things. And I think mental health and addictions go hand in hand. And so reducing the stigma that goes with both of those, I think can be extremely beneficial.
And, and there's a stigma around both of our industries, right? There's a stigma around addiction. There's a stigma around divorce. And so imagine compounding those two things. And the reason that I wanted to bring Kit on here today was because I believe with my whole heart that if we can support employees that are going and struggling with addiction, if we can support them through that, we can diminish, not necessarily eliminate, but diminish the filing for a divorce if we can get that employee some help. So you are a health and wellness coach. So tell us what you can do, and people that are also in your role as a health and wellness coach in supporting employees who are struggling, right? They're just struggling with their addiction and or going through a divorce. What can you guys do?
So what's really interesting, I love that question. And so SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, defines recovery as, and I have to read it because I don't have it memorized. I can't remember anything at my age, so I have to write everything down.
Girl, same.
But yeah, we can talk, right?
We
I
understand.
know. So their working definition, again, this is SAMHSA, is a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live self-directed lives, and strive to reach their full potential.
Mm. We also have to remember that it's not just drugs, prescription drugs, and alcohol.
Yeah.
It can be internet usage, eating, gambling, shopping, pornography. Like, I don't mean to go down the shopping list of all the other isms. So we don't mean it just to be drugs and alcohol. It could be anything that is not in their best interest and is ruining their life, or self-directed, improved, and a change in their behavior. So,
yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Great point. So, when you start with that as the definition of recovery, it really opens up the whole concept of creating a wellness plan. And as a recovery coach and wellness coach, we actually have what we call a WRAP plan, which is a wellness recovery action plan. And it talks about what is your connection to community. How are you going to make sure you stay connected? What is your physical health going to look like? What's your emotional health, your spiritual health? And really connecting those dots together to make a beautiful life. Because, when addiction hits, just like divorce, it crumbles everything around it. Yeah. The whole family is impacted. Your work's impacted. I mean, it just is a trickle down effect. And so you have to start putting those pieces together.
And it affects the family as a whole, where you have codependency and all the other issues that are people that are also, shall we say, covering up a little bit, and dare I say, lying and protecting them. And they feel like they're doing the right thing to protect. But now, like you said, it trickles down into the whole, even the work environment where, ooh, I don't want to be the one to tattletale, or, ooh, I get in trouble, and then family members are covering. So, it just trickles down.
It does. Yeah. And we can't deny that there is stigma around what we do for families. It's a cause of great shame for a lot of people. Yeah. So how can an HR professional or a company supervisor, if it's somebody that's got their nose to the grindstone, missing 33 days of work, or coming in late for a meeting, or leaving early, or in the bathroom, all of those things we talked about earlier, how can professionals in the HR, in the corporate world, help reduce the stigma around addiction and divorce in the workplace, and create an environment that's just more supportive for their employees so that they can reach out for support and help? Because hopefully you can start to see that this can be unbelievably expensive to fire somebody like this and replace. I mean, just the average employee at $58,000, it costs $85,000 to replace them. So this is not something that we just don't want to cycle through. We want to support. So what can they do to reduce that stigma around addiction and divorce?
I think the biggest thing is having conversations. I really think that begins to be the key, is having open communication. And, I just think about the world we live in now. We live in a world where nothing is real. We see on Instagram and Facebook and everybody has this picture perfect world. And I just think we have to stop pretending that we live these perfect lives. And I think we have to start being real with one another. I shared with Vicki in a conversation earlier, I was very blessed that I have lived experience as a recovering alcoholic. It was my employer who allowed me the opportunity to get sober. I was in a meeting with her, and I just blurted out. I just said, I am struggling. I'm an active alcoholic and I cannot get sober. I've been going to AA for 15 years and I just can't seem to get sober. And that employer looked at me and put down her pen and she said, "What do you need and how can I help you?"
Mm.
Isn't that
So
amazing? I just got goosebumps.
it's been 12 years ago and I still get choked up because
I get it.
it changed my life. So employers can make a significant change
Mhm.
in their employees' lives if they'll just take the time to ask. She
Mm.
asked me, "What do you need and how can I help?" Those are the two best questions you could probably ask. What do you need and how can I help?
That's
And I can imagine how your anxiety dissipated when she said that to you.
Yeah. So
right.
I
When
was in
when
treatment.
this, yeah, when that embarrassment, when it's no longer embarrassing to talk about, you can start to talk about it,
Right,
right?
right. Well, imagine this too. As an employer, as HR professionals, one of the things that we typically ask in an interview is, what's your greatest accomplishment? What's your greatest accomplishment? My greatest accomplishment is having, 10 plus years of sobriety. But do you think I can say that in an interview?
Yeah.
But imagine hiring those people who have that kind of stick-to-itiveness, that have that kind of tenacity, who do hard things and it's like, and I've been through a divorce too, and that was hard.
Yeah.
So those are my two greatest accomplishments of surviving that divorce.
Yes.
And getting sober. But am I going to say that in an interview? No, because that's not what we say. And I'm just like, let's stop it. Let's just stop and be real. Let's just be real about.
I'm going to challenge, Kit, that companies are starting to shift with that. That they're yes, I completely agree, Vicki. Of course, you and I understand wholeheartedly the stigma. We see it, but I am challenging that it is changing. And that makes me so happy. I'm all about change and I'm always about resiliency. And I do believe that those companies are willing to have that WRAP program, that Wellness Recovery Act plan, call it what you will. I don't know if that acronym's been trademarked or whatever, but make up your own. But there needs to be a program, a plan,
Yeah.
and who doesn't need more wellness in their life, even if you don't have an addiction?
Right. 100%. So, we
Who
talk
doesn't need more wellness? I mean, I'll tell you, I'll sign up for that.
right. So here's the last question that I have for you, Kit, is, you went into your office, you opened, you became very, very vulnerable, and you told your manager that you were struggling. And she said, like, what can I do? What do you need? Right. So what resources are available to HR professionals to help them support their employees, just like that woman did for you, who are dealing with addictions or they're going through a divorce, which Divorce Right, put that on your calendars, put that, put us on in your Rolodex, or I guess, what are we calling them now? Contact list, right? Like, what are those resources? And then more importantly, how can they be implemented, like, really effectively and efficiently?
So the resources are things like 12-step programs, and they are, there's NA, AA, there's faith-based programs that if people, oftentimes people who have some type of faith struggle even more because there's all that shame that goes with that. Yeah. So there are, treatment facilities. There are inpatient treatment facilities that are, 30 days. There are outpatient treatment programs that would then allow an employee to continue to work while they go through intensive outpatient treatment. And again, it's just making sure that whatever the employee needs to support their recovery, that HR managers then ensure that they can do the things they need to do. Sometimes like for me, I went to an AA meeting every day at noon, so I would change my schedule so that I worked my 8 hours, which maybe meant, working a little longer, but it was important for me to get to a 12-step program every day at lunchtime. That just worked for me. So just those are some of the resources that are available currently. And again, our benefit plans, I think making sure as an HR person, you know what's available. Does your benefit plans pay for 30-day treatment? Do they pay for intensive outpatient program treatment? That's really important to know so that when an employee comes to you and says, I'm struggling, you can immediately say, well, let's look at your benefits because here's what you can do. But I would tell you, resources are sometimes hard to find, and they're certainly not cheap.
So let's talk about resources and yours as an example. I know that you are trying to change the world here in North Carolina with your program. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish, and then we'll finish this up by how people can get in touch with you. And let me just say that I am so pro this because this is so related to divorce and the implications for corporate America and our government agencies, our government services, right? And if we can nipping these things in the bud is so important to having a successful career, a successful company, blah, blah, blah. So tell us a little bit about you, what you're trying to do, how people can reach out to you so that we can get this show on the road and get people some of the support and help they need.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity to meet an organization called Wilkes Recovery Revolution here in North Carolina, and they have started a program called Recovery Friendly NC. And so I am an affiliate now with Recovery Friendly NC, and that is trying to help employers designate themselves as recovery friendly workplaces, which means they support employees who are in recovery. They look to hire people who are in recovery and make it a safe place for people who are in recovery or thinking about getting into recovery to be in work, finding work. And think about, we're struggling with trying to find employees. We can open up a whole other opportunity, for people if we start looking for people who are in recovery. And again, think about what hard work that person's going to do for you because they've already been doing it to get sober or, get clean and sober. So that is just a super exciting thing that we are doing here in North Carolina. We want to do it across the state, spread out and just keep going. In order to get in touch with me, my email is kit@arenovatedlife.com. And yes, I named my company A Renovated Life because that's what I felt like had happened to me.
I can understand that. I mean,
Yep.
You're a walking billboard for why this is important.
Yep.
So, Kit, thank you so much. I loved this conversation. I think that our mission is to change the world the way people experience divorce. We want to help employers, government agencies, make this system less costly financially and with your mental health, right? Because that's a price that people pay with too. And addiction is certainly a part of this process. 35% of all divorces have addiction as a potential cause of the reason this marriage is falling apart. Let's stop this. Let's get them the support and the help that they need. Mm-hmm. Kit, thank you so much. Paulette, thank you so much for doing this with me again this week. Next week, I'm really excited. We have Peggotty Cooper from the Certified Divorce Coach Program talking about what a divorce coach can bring to the table for HR directors. And if you should ever want to become a divorce coach, there's a lot, interestingly enough, there's a lot of HR managers that come and become divorce coaches because they see that this is a problem in their own companies. Mm-hmm. So that's next week, and we look forward to seeing you then. For now, thank you so much for being a part of this, and hopefully we have made an impact on you and your company by allowing us to support your employees as they go through the divorce process. So bye for now, and we will see you all next week. Thank you.